Howdy, everybody. Please forgive me for the acoustics. I'm unfortunately not using high dollar equipment to make this video. But I did want to make another update in order to go over a couple of new details that you should be made aware of. Matter of fact, I tried making this video a moment ago and it ended up going way too long, so I'm going to try to cut it down this time, so you don't have to sit here for minutes upon minutes watching me or listening to me blather on. Um, right now, again, also you notice there's a fisheye. The new webcam I have right now, unfortunately, has a fisheye lens. I'm trying to find a way to modify that with either software or hardware. But in the meantime, I'm sorry. I hope it doesn't make you anyway. Um, in the past couple of weeks or so, I've been doing a little bit of research and discovered that I may have started off, I won't say wrong, probably it'd be better worded to say I started my practicing at a bit of a disadvantage. It wasn't wrong because a lot of people could start the way I did and probably have started the way I did. Um, the, Unfortunately, the disadvantage comes from trying to essentially nail down too many individual aspects of skill at once, if that makes sense. And maybe it will here in a moment. You might remember I was gripping the dice, throwing them, and trying to get them to land on the right spot. It seems fairly simple, except for the fact that a lot of dice influence proponents will say that you might be better served, and this is just general, they didn't say this to me, they just said generally speaking, you might be better served first practicing grip and then practicing the swing while holding the dice. Once you've got the grip down, you pick up the dice properly, put them down. Pick them up, put them down. Get the muscle memory set on how you grip them instead of just grabbing them with your fist and, kind of thing. Being able to, one of the key aspects is how you grip it. The next aspect is how you throw it. You want to make sure you throw, I have to be careful with your, lest I bonk my head on the wall. When you're leaning over, make sure that you throw parallel to the wall that the rail that you're leaning on. So there's not a hook or a slice as you throw it. Because you remember, when the dice land, the ideal circumstance is that the dice land parallel to the back wall, which is 90-degree perpendicular to the rail you're leaning on. That means you want to throw in a straight line. And a lot of people recommend looking at the playing surface where you got the pass bar with, of course, usually the don't pass is right next to it. So they got a couple of lines going in an exact straight as a grizzly's dick going right over the wall. So you can just follow that. Well, that's great. But they also want you to look at where you're landing. You can't look at that and where you're landing at the same time. So you want to practice being able to throw in a straight line, just like any other skill when it comes to throwing. Whether you're a football player, baseball pitcher, or whatever, you practice it over and over to make sure that you can get the muscle memory down on doing it appropriately. And that's smart, doing it in piecemeal. I wasn't. Now, as far as starting with the grip, so what one person recommended at first, which I thought was absolutely insane, is to obtain something called the gripper. Now, actually, there are a couple of devices out there that you can Google called the gripper, only one of which involves dice influencing. But it's essentially a piece of wood with a couple of grooves in it. One groove is just wide enough for the dice to sit inside, and the dice stick up a little bit, just enough so that when you're gripping it, your fingertips touch the wood, and it just happens to be right where it's supposed to grab the dice, because the dice are set into the groove. The other groove is for you to put a little mirror that they include so you can see where your fingers are and all that kind of stuff. Nifty. They wanted $60 damn for this. $60 for a piece of wood with a couple of grooves in it and a mirror. No. Yeah, I could make one. If you know anything about dado blades, you get a piece of wood, get a dado blade, make the right thing, you're done. Even if you don't know about dado blades, run it through a table saw a couple times, got the groove done. I can make one. I didn't bother. That was because there was another option somebody else had mentioned. Again, not to me, they just mentioned in general on YouTube, and I thought it was a pretty smart idea. It's what I did here. They took a latex glove and they stuck the dice in one of the fingers of the latex glove. And then you got tied off right there. Now, it's not, fantastic. It's not perfect because you can see the dice can kind of rotate inside there a little bit, but they go right back again. This is so that when you're practicing your grip, you can practice without worrying about two individual dice splitting as you're trying to practice your grip. You take it, you grip it, you put it down. You grip it, you put it down. You grip it, you put it down. I mean, not necessarily that quick, especially not when you're first learning. You try to find where the proper place is, where your finger is supposed to go, how your hand is supposed to go, blah, 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 blah. Pick it up, put it down, so that you can get that muscle memory down. And then once that's done, then while you have it gripped properly, practice picking it up and mock throwing it. Picking it up, mock throwing it. Now, it seems to me like maybe while I'm practicing that, I may also want to just practice the throw by itself, getting it straight without a hook or a slice. I say that because, well, it makes sense. You know what I'm talking about. And then once I can get at least the grip down, I've already got some practice on the throw set up so that I can then start practicing it with it being gripped. I think you get my point. That seems like a better way to start practicing. Now, none of that is the capability of muscle memory of gripping and throwing left and right in a straight line is not in contention by anyone, because those themselves do not automatically result in dice influence. You can get those nailed down to a T and still not prove dice influence. So I don't see the point and purpose of documenting that I'm actually practicing or anything. Besides, what's to prove that I'm sitting here and swinging my arm 100 times a day? Who's going to sit there and I don't think that needs to be proven. Now, it might not hurt to necessarily maybe document once a day 10 swings after practice to show whether or not there has been any improvement. Eventually, the hope is I can make 10 swings in a row straight as an arrow. Clearly, I'm not doing it right now. Of course, I'm not trying either. But when I'm actually trying, I really doubt I'm going to do 10 in a row. There are probably ways I can prove it. Maybe I can get some string or something and you can cover it in chalk. And as long as my arm doesn't get the chalk on it, then you see what I'm saying? There are ways to accomplish this. I can maybe do that every day, and eventually improvement will be documented. If that even interests anybody, I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence on that. Don't want to stay on the fence too long. I'll end up with splinters. But still, that's where I'm sitting at the moment. I will practice gripping and I will practice swinging. I just don't find it productive to leave a long gap of time on YouTube between this video and the next one where I'm actually finally throwing, which means I've gotten the grip and gotten the swing down. That could be weeks or even months down the road. You're wondering, okay, is this guy even doing it, or is he sitting at home in his underwear eating potato chips? Yeah, at least you can have some sort of update as to what the hell I'm doing. Not that you really care, but for the sake of documentation and validation and verification purposes. So I think that's probably where I'm going to go. Now, once I do get the grip and the swing down comfortably for my my purposes, the next will be throwing it onto the cloth. Once I can get it, I don't know, maybe 10 times in a row from here, landing on the washcloth properly in the rubber glove, then I'll have to do it without the vinyl around it, loose, just like at a table. Once I can get that done 10 times in a row on the cloth, then I go one level up. I don't think I brought it in here, did I? I guess not. I thought I did. Would have swore I did, in fact. Well, okay, well, that's what I get. I guess it's about time I stopped sniffing glue. I have a clear cookie jar. It has a little lid. It looks round, almost like a fishbowl, but the hole, instead of being the hole being on top, it's at an angle. And I'm going to put that where the cloth was, and I'm going to try to get it into the jar without the vinyl or latex or whatever the hell it is. So if I can then get it 10 times in a row into the cookie jar thing, then it's time to start documenting, I think, the roll results. Because at that point, I need to be able to practice making sure that when they land, they're not landing like this or like this. They're supposed to be landing straight, not crooked, not forward or anything like that. In order to get making sure that they land parallel to the back wall, and they have the proper spin, and so on and so on and so on. I think that's probably going to be the best way to accomplish it, as opposed to just doing it the way I was, which would have taken a whole hell of a lot longer. I think. If this is possible, I think this is probably going to be the smartest way to attack it. Again, if Dice Fluence is even possible. So that's where I'm going at this point. This video probably still took just as long as the last one did. I'm sorry, but I tried. If you have any suggestions, if you have any sort of input that you think might be beneficial for what I just described, please feel free to comment on it. If I see no comments, that tells me nobody gives a rip. Then I'll just make my own damn decisions from there. Alrighty, folks. I think that's everything. Have a good one.